Welcome to another episode of your favorite libertarian. Today I'm going to be going over and reviewing MDFI's Foundation Handgun class. I'm going to be talking about not only the class itself and my takeaways and giving you an account of how the day went for me, but also I'll be talking about the gear that I brought to the class. What worked, what didn't, was the amount of ammo sufficient, all that fun stuff. So stay tuned and we'll get into it. The first clip you are about to see will be of the gear that I was planning on taking to the Foundation Handgun class. Now, all of this will be the past for you, I guess, but this video was filmed much further in the future of making this video than the clip you're about to see. So I had this particular handgun that I brought, and you've probably seen a couple videos on this. There'll be an update video on this because now I have a red dot. At the time of taking the class, I think it was like a week before I got this red dot, I took the class. So I had the slide cut for an RMR, I had the suppressor height sights, but I did not have the red dot yet. So everything that you're going to be seeing in this next clip is going to be the same except for me not having this red dot. So I'll go to that clip now and you can see what you should probably bring if you're taking MDFI's Foundation Handgun class. All right, let's talk about what you'll need to bring to Foundation Handgun. Obviously, you will need your handgun. You'll want to have it configured as you normally carry it. That is what's preferred. For me, I'm rocking appendix carry, and this is a Tier 1 concealed access slim with a Glock 19, and there's a couple videos on the channel on the Glock 19 if you want more information about that, or even the holster. We talk about that as well. So you'll need the gun itself and how you're going to be carrying it, a quality holster. There's some restrictions on holsters like the Serpas and things like that. So just look that up and see what holsters are good and not good to bring. You'll want to bring some water or whatever fluid you're drinking because you want to stay hydrated throughout the class. You also want to bring snacks and a bag lunch, mainly because you're not going to be able really, as far as time sake goes, or you're not going to really want to either leave the premises to go get lunch because typically the ranges are kind of remote and it'll take you a long time to get from class to a restaurant and back, and you don't have to be rushing and like gobbling up your food as fast as you can before you have to get back on the line. So I would recommend bringing a lunch. Also, it's just cool to hang out and chat with people as you're eating lunch. That's really most of the time that you have to socialize, unless you're getting to class super early or leaving class and just hanging out afterwards. Because while you're in the class, it's much like if you were in school, you shouldn't be chatting and hanging out, you should be listening and learning. Let's get to the backpack that I am bringing to this class. This is a Vertex Gamut bag. I'll probably do a review on this, but just so you know what I'm bringing and what I would recommend you'd bring, we'll start with the outside. So on the outside we have a little compartment, and I have my Ear Pro, my Eye Pro. I have in-ear Surefire Ear Pro. It just seems like for whatever reason, maybe it's my giant ears, but it's really hard for me to get a good seal with over-ear Ear Pro while I'm wearing Eye Pro. So your ears may vary, but that's just what I found works the best for me. So I just have some in-ear Ear Pro. I also have chapstick and gum in here as well. And then on the outside here, I have first aid. So I've got an IFAK here. If I unclick this, this just Velcros off and I can rip it off real quick. And then I also have a CPR mask in case I need to administer CPR. So that's in the front. Easy to access, easy to rip open and get to. And then on the inside, we have the most obvious thing you'll need to bring, which is ammo. It's 400 rounds of ammunition, 250 to 400 rounds for this particular class. And what I've found so far from the classes I've taken is that is a generous estimate, meaning you probably won't need the full 400. You'll probably be closer to 250, but just to be safe, they say bring up to 400 and you should be okay. I also have a rag just for wiping down the gun if I need to, for whatever reason, if it gets skunked up. But this is a handgun class. It's a one-day class, and I'm bringing a Glock, so I'm probably not going to need to clean it, so I'm not even going to bother bringing any cleaning stuff. But for a multiple day class or for a carbine or shotgun class, you'll probably want to bring a cleaning kit just in case you need to clean it if you're having any issues with it cycling or running ammunition or whatever. I also have 3 magazines here. I've got 2 17-round magazines. This is 17, this is another 17, here we go. So 2 17-round magazines. I have a 15-round magazine. I have the little loader guy that came with the gun. And then I also have my mag that I have in the holster and a mag in my carry gun. Also, speaking of this, because this is what I carry, I brought a bag so that I can put my carry ammunition in this Ziploc baggie so I can use all of my magazines with the range ammo, and then when I'm done with the class, I can put my carry ammo back in the gun and carry it home. The last thing you're going to want to bring is going to be your waiver. That's what this folder is for all my MDFI waivers that I need for all the classes that I'm taking for this year. I'm hoping I can just give them all to Trek when I get there, so that way I don't have to bring it every time I go to class. I can just say, you already have my waiver. Besides the MDFI waiver, you might also need the waiver for a particular range. Not all ranges also require a waiver, but some of them do. So just check before you take the class to see if the range requires a waiver as well. I checked all the ranges that I'm going to be going to for all the classes I'm taking this year, and none of them require a waiver. So I've got my MDFI waivers, I'm good. The last thing you'll want to bring is the $25 range fee. You can sign up for classes on trainmdfi.com. You can pay for the classes, but there's still a $25 range fee that you have to pay when you get there so that they can give that to the range for letting them use the range and rent it out all day for their students. So that's it. The only other thing I would say you'll want to bring will be something to write with. So a notepad, your phone app, whatever, so that as you're learning new things, you can write them down. So in case you forget them, you can reference your notes and look back on them and run whatever new drills you learn at home or at the range. Now that you've seen what I brought to class, let's get into the class itself. I'll bullet point out the order at which we went over everything in the class right now. Introductions, safety briefing, I&I, admin reloads, speed reloads, emergency reloads, press checks, draw stroke, things to do after the draw stroke, stoppage clearing, and the qualifier. As far as those bullet points go, at this point, if you'd like, I can stop, elaborate, and you can listen. This is not a brand new invention. This is something that they've been doing for a while at MDFI Foundation Handgun, but I'm going to do my best to get into as much detail as I can on the different things that we did in the class without giving away anything that MDFI would probably not want me to give away, being that this is their information, not mine. They've developed this curriculum. They're the ones that have a business related to this information. So I'm going to do my best to give you as much information as I can, but not give anything to you that's not mine to give. And really, the best way to absorb this information is going to be to actually take a class. So the first thing that we did was introductions. Now that was really cool because we got to see people from all different walks of life. We went around the room, we talked about who we were, what we did for a living, and why we took the class. The next thing that we did was the safety briefing. very in-depth safety briefing, a lot of real-world stories of when not following the rules goes wrong to really drive the point home. And we all went around the room, looked each other in the eyes, and made sure that we understood and agreed to follow those firearms handling rules throughout the class. And I can say too, in the class, everyone was really safe. There were a couple people that were a little bit newer to these types of classes, but the instructors did a really good job watching them, making sure everybody was safe. So very happy that it was a very safe class. I should also add that if you're going to a firearms class and there isn't a safety briefing, run, get out of there, because the last thing you want is a non-safety focused firearms class. That is not a place that you want to be. Next, we got into I&I, inventory and inspection. For those of you that run red dots, there's this thing here that's not something that's just part of the handgun that you need to make sure one, has a good battery, is on, and the settings are right, but also you need to make sure that this thing doesn't come flying off or getting loose, because then you're going to not have the 0 that you had before. So making sure that the screws are screwed in nice and tight, you have witness marks to show that everything's where it's supposed to be, and then there's all sorts of other parts within your handgun that you can look at and check to ensure that nothing's gonna come falling off or shooting out that's not supposed to. Then we went into the reloads, and again, those reloads were admin reloads, speed reloads, and emergency reloads. There were a lot of different types, and actually some types of reloads that were specifically trademarked or copyrighted. I don't know, they own certain language as far as, and certain techniques on how to teach different reloads and what those reloads are. So that's really cool. There's one admin reload that I really liked, that I favored over the other. There was a speed reload that I preferred over the other one, and that was faster for me, that I learned. And then the emergency reloads, there were a lot of different emergency reloads, and I found that one particular one was the fastest for me and worked really well for me. So that was really good, because in doing all the different types, tried a bunch that I had never done before, I determined that, okay, these are the ones that work really well, but if for some reason, depending on the circumstances or shooting positions, I can also use these if I have to. So that was really good. Then we got into the press checks. I do not have front serrations right here, so there's a different kind of press check besides the one you see all the time where they do this, that they taught, which I prefer. Draw stroke. So a lot of the draw stroke that they teach, very intuitive, very logical progression of how to draw from concealment, and I won't go into the specifics of it. I will say that one of the instructors that they reference in part of the draw stroke is Craig Douglas, and if you are familiar with the Warrior Poet Society, John Lovell, or the Warrior Poet Society Network, you probably are very familiar with Craig Douglas, as he has a full series on ECQB. I always get the acronym wrong, but I think it's Extreme Close Quarters Combatives. Anyway, in the draw stroke, they say, all right, now once you get to this part of the draw stroke, you're going to do this Craig Douglas thing. And as soon as they said that, I was like, okay, I got it. I know exactly what that is. All right, cool. I can do that. So it's very good, because in your draw stroke, as they teach it, you can still fire at different points of the draw stroke, and it applies in different distances from the thing that you need to shoot, or the person. After the draw stroke, we talked about what to do after the draw stroke. So I won't get into that too much. I will say that it is very important, and it makes a lot of sense the way that they teach it. Besides winning that initial gunfight, you also need to quote unquote look for work and make sure that there isn't anything else that needs to be dealt with in your 360-degree world, because life is not a flat range in one direction. That's all I'll say about that. Stoppage clearing. So there is a mode of operations that they teach that regardless of what the stoppage is, you can clear it by following 5 steps. I won't tell you what those are because that's some secret sauce stuff, but I will say there is a additional stoppage that can only be cleared in a very gritty and extreme way. So that actually happened to me twice, and I had to do that particular clearing drill twice. So that was cool because I was thinking like, it's a Glock, like there's no way that this is going to happen, but it did. So yeah, that was cool. Also, one of the, we had 2 lines. One was line 1, you know, they go off and say, you say 1, you say 2, and so on. So don't get it wrong. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we did that. And the person that was sharing my lane was the youth scholarship program student. So super young. I think he was, he was 16 years old. Crazy. I didn't own a handgun until I was 21. So it's crazy. It's like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. So he was sharing my lane. He actually had that particular malfunction as well, or stoppage as well. And I was about to get an instructor and be like, hey, he's got that one thing. You might want to help him with this. And by the time I was asking for someone, he had already, I won't do the mush because I won't give it away, but he already did the thing. And I was like, oh man, this kid's awesome. So anyway, stoppages, tons of fun. And I think also the stoppages helped me, and I'll get into this in kind of final thoughts and takeaway, but I think the stoppages helped me shoot faster because I was more worried about clearing the stoppages and getting the gun back up and into the fight than I was at the pinpoint accuracy that I was always focused on the whole time. So stoppages were awesome. The qualifier most certainly deserves its own section in this video. It's a lot of fun. It's great for training outside of the class as well. And it's something that is required in advanced level classes, but something that you take at the end of every foundation class. There's 3 qualifiers because there's 3 different weapons platforms that MDFI teaches. There's the shotgun qualifier, there is the carbine or rifle qualifier, and there is the handgun qualifier. We're going to be talking about the handgun qualifier, but if you watch some of my other videos, I talk about the qualifiers in my other class reviews. Now, the reason that the qualifier exists at the end of the foundation class is just to see, okay, you've learned all these things. Let's apply all these things that you've learned in these few drills and see how good you were at retaining this information and applying it in a kind of stress-induced format. So that's why you do it at the end of foundation. The reason it's required for any advanced level class to do at the beginning of the class is so that the instructors and everyone else that you are going to be training with knows that you are able to operate at this level or higher, because you already have to know all the basics, you already have to know all the foundation, and you have to be able to be accurate and fast enough so that you can learn all of the other things that they're going to teach you in the advanced class, and they don't have to worry about you being able to be competent in the basics. Now for the specifics of the qualifier itself. This for handgun is going to be at 5 yards, and it's broken into 4 parts. Each part has to be done within 6 seconds. So you have a 6-second part time, meaning when the beeper beeps, or the buzzer beeps, or whatever, the timer beeps, that you are able to complete whatever that task is in that first part, or the second part, or the third part, whatever part you're on, within 6 seconds at 5 yards. The first part is from a low ready, hearing the beep, and then firing 5 rounds. The second one is from the holster, hearing the beep, and then drawing and firing 4 rounds. The third part is starting from a low ready at the beep, firing 1 round, speed reload, 2 rounds. And the fourth part is starting from one round in the magazine and then racking it, or you can just start with one round in the gun, empty magazine. So at the beep, you are firing one round and then having to do an emergency reload, put the slide back forward and firing one round. And I'll show you each one of those slowly so you can see what it would look like from a weapons manipulation standpoint. I'm working with an unloaded gun, pointed in the safe direction, and I'm also dealing with unloaded magazines for this portion of the video, so don't worry, everything's going to be all right. So for the first part, we're starting from a low ready, beep. So it's 5 rounds. I did it in time, fantastic. The next one is going to be from, in my case, concealment. I did it from concealment, but some people were open carrying, which is cool too. But from concealment or from the holster at least, beep. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next one is going to be like so. So we're going to be from a low ready, beep, boom, boom. And then the last one is going to be, really the only way I can do this is to have the slide locked back on a empty magazine. Last one is the emergency reload. So from a low ready, boom, boom. And that is how you do that. So now that we've gone over how to do the qualifier for handgun, let's look at the results, which is a culmination of lots of dry fire practice that I've been doing with handgun and other weapons platforms at home, especially with not having a whole lot of ammo around to shoot or available to purchase. And also the culmination of everything that I learned in that class and applying it. So before we show the results, I do want to get into the takeaways from the class, because that kind of leads into my results for the qualifier. So let's do that. Takeaways. The first takeaway that I had from this class was that I need to push my speed. I was very focused on pinpoint accuracy, and I was sacrificing my speed for that accuracy. There's a balance between speed and accuracy. You want to be accurate enough that you're obviously going to be getting it where you need the rounds to go and being safe, because you're accountable for every round that leaves the muzzle. But if you don't do that fast enough, you're not going to survive whatever type of shooting encounter you're in. So I needed to push my speed, and Brandon, with all the people that were in the class, taking the class, watching them, he saw that I was more capable of being faster than I was being. And I really appreciate the kick in the butt that I got from him, because his words coupled with the stoppage drills really helped me get my speed up, focus more on getting that first shot off faster and faster follow-up shots. And I'm really appreciative of that. So thank you, Brandon, for speeding me up. Secondly, I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier on, but the stoppage drills really helped me speed up as well, because when I was doing the stoppage clearing drills, I was focusing a lot more on that and getting the gun back up in the fight and getting those rounds off until another malfunction was induced and I have to do it all over again. So that also helped me get my mind out of like, okay, I got to make sure this is exactly right here. And it was more like, it's not working, I got to get it working again. And then bam, 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 it's not working again, I got to get working again. So that helped me a lot with speed as well. The last takeaway I had for the class was how impressed I was with the 16-year-old student that was in the class. Again, he was sharing, we were both on the last lane, or the one closest to the left wall. So a couple things. It was his second time ever shooting a handgun ever, going from okay, yeah, I shot a handgun for the first time. Now I'm going to take an 8-hour class for handgun. It's mind-blowing to me as as a 16-year-old. I can't imagine doing that. That is amazing. Also, it wasn't even his gun. Obviously 16, so he can't own a handgun, unfortunately. Unconstitutionally, I might add. He was using someone else's gun, someone else's ammo, someone else's belt, someone else's holster. Very foreign to him, but he was still able to use it all, make it work, and I was very impressed with that. He even shot relatively fast. He was shooting faster than me for most of the drills, which is awesome. That he was able to get the gun in, do all the stuff, and do it relatively quickly, especially for it being his second time shooting a handgun. I was blown away by that. He even shot the Qualifier. So think about this. Your first time shooting a handgun. The second time you go to the range, it's an 8-hour class, you do all these different things, and at the end, you do a timed qualifier under pressure. This kid not only did it, but the last of the 4 parts, he actually did correctly, meaning he got it in the box that you needed to get it in, and he did it within the 6-second part time. So he did fire 1 round, emergency reload, fire 1 round in 6 seconds. Whoa. Now what everyone wants to see, the targets. There's 3 targets that you shoot in the Foundation Handgun class. There is the target that you shoot for the vast majority of the day, which is a silhouette target. It might be identical or at least similar to the Foundation shotgun target, so check that video out if you haven't seen it yet. But it's a silhouette target. It has a box for headshots, and then it's got a circle about yay big in the center of the chest for center mass shots. And any misses that you make throughout all the drills that you do, you tape the misses so you know where you're hitting for everything. There's a cold start or like first shots target that you do. That's this one right here for me. As you can see, it's pretty stringy. It's, as far as left and right, it's not too bad, but up and down, whoa. So this is a data point for me and for the instructors of the class so they can see, okay, where is everyone starting out at? What might we need to work on right off the bat? And this is basically if you all of a sudden find yourself in a gunfight, what kind of performance can you expect cold? So you're obviously not going to be able to warm up and say, hold on, Mr. Attacker, let me just first get some practice shots in, get some draw stroke practice in, and then we can begin the fight. So this is a really important data point to have. So this was at the very beginning of the class, and this was at 10 yards, and this was no time limit. So it took a long time for me to miss this many times. I actually only got 1, I think, technically in the dot, and then 1's touching, I think, maybe. So yeah, then did all the class, did all the stuff we talked about, and the qualification. So I'll show you my target first, and then I'll tell you kind of like how it went as I was going. So here's my target, and as you can see, perfect with 2 exclamation points, which is pretty great, but barely perfect. As you can see, this one's barely on, this one's barely on. Now let me kind of explain the scoring. So we talked about the par time and all the qual stuff, but as far as the scoring goes, there's 14 out of 14 possible. And to pass, you need to get 12 out of 14 on paper, meaning this entire paper, you have to get at least 12 on paper and you pass. So it can be outside of the smaller rectangle and you can still pass. Then if you get 12 out of 14, so same amount, if you just get 12 on this rectangle, the smaller rectangle, then you get advanced. So I was able to get all 14 in this rectangle, but barely, so I like super advanced or something, I don't know. That's probably why I got 2 exclamation points. Anyway, this is at 5 yards again, so a little bit easier than the 10-yard target, obviously, but there was a time limit. And in this, I was starting with that first 5 rounds. I was doing that first 5 rounds really slow because I was like, okay, I got a lot of time. I'm going to really make sure that I get really good hits, but I almost took too long. this round and this round, I think we're actually within the first 5 rounds, and I barely made the time limit for the first 5 rounds because I was taking way too long for my first shot. So then after that, I did my second one, which was from the holster, and that one was a lot faster because I do a lot of dry fire practice from the holster for shots and follow-up shots and transitions and stuff with dry fire. So that one was all in here. And then the one after that was my shoot 1, speed reload, shoot 2. That was pretty good as well because I made a mental note to make sure that I wasn't racing to the reload, meaning I wasn't just throwing that first shot out and not aiming and then getting to the reload and doing the second 2. So I really made sure I got a good hit for my first shot, did my reload really fast, and then slowed down again for my last 2 shots. And then the last one, which was my emergency reload, I felt like that was the best one for me. That was the tightest group. That was the fastest. I got a really good hit on the first one, did the reload really fast, and then got my last hit and still had plenty of time before the timer went off. So I was super happy about this target. So I'm very happy to share it with you, but I will most certainly share any type of qual targets for any of the classes that I take. So you can kind of see, I want to have it just as historical reference so I can see how I'm progressing or if I'm slipping in some areas. And it's really good information for me to have so I know what my deficiencies are so I can train to weed out those deficiencies and improve in those areas that I need to improve. So yeah, that was the qual. That's going to do it for me and the review of MDFI's Foundation Handgun. I want to give a big thanks to MDFI for being awesome, for having amazing trainers and content, and for all of my MDFI alumni family. You're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being you. Keep being a positive force in the world. And to my subscribers, thank you to all my subscribers. Currently, we are at 99 subscribers for this channel. And one more means we'll be at 100, which I think means I can have, I can customize a URL and do some other stuff for YouTube. So that's cool, I guess. Also, I want to invite those of you who are watching my videos that are not subscribed to subscribe. Currently, as far as YouTube is telling me, 97.8% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. So I don't know what you're waiting for. It's free. And it really helps the channel if you're subscribed. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified every week when I come out with a new video. And also leave in the comment section what you want to see in this channel, what will help you make better informed buying decisions for gear and weapons for defending the Constitution and your rights and having the freedoms that you have and keeping them. Also, if you have any questions on the class that I reviewed today, feel free to drop those in the comment section below. Anything else you guys want to talk about in the comment section, feel free. I'm game, so let me know. That's gonna do it for this video though. Thanks again for watching, and as always, stay free. God bless. Starting from a low ready. Can you hear that? There's Canadian geese that are flying over my house. Starting from a low ready.